Bearing an Honest Witness Practice, Compassion, and the Question of Engagement by the Backyard Buddhist. There's a question that seems to show up sooner or later for almost everyone who practices the Buddha's way. It's certainly shown up for me. Do we simply witness suffering, or do we step into it? Do we sit quietly and cultivate clarity, trusting that wisdom will naturally ripple outward into the world? Or do we organize, protest, speak out, intervene, and try to change conditions directly? If we're honest, most of us feel the tension between those two possibilities. If we're too passive, we risk becoming indifferent. If we're too active, we risk losing the very clarity that makes our actions wise in the first place. So what does it mean to bear an honest witness? Not just to suffering itself, but to our responsibility within it. The Buddha begins in a place that might surprise us. He doesn't begin with activism, and he doesn't begin with withdrawal. He begins with seeing clearly. At the foundation of Buddhist practice is right view, or perhaps more accurately, wise seeing. The Buddha said, both formerly and now, it is only suffering that I describe, and the cessation of suffering. That's from the Samyutta Nikaya. This is important. The Buddha isn't presenting a political program. He's diagnosing a condition. Suffering arises because of causes and conditions. And if we misunderstand those causes, our attempts to fix the world can actually deepen suffering rather than relieve it. He also warned us about acting from unexamined reactions. In the Sutta Nipata, he says, when one is caught in views, disputes arise. So the first movement of bearing witness isn't outward, it's inward. Before I act, I need to ask myself, what's actually happening? What's arising in me as I witness it? Am I responding from wisdom, or am I responding from anger, fear, resentment, or identity? This isn't passivity, it's precision. Now, there's a strong current throughout Buddhist history, especially in early Buddhism and Zen, that cautions against unnecessary interference. The Arhat ideal emphasizes liberation through insight. From this perspective, the most radical thing we can do isn't change the world, it's end delusion. Zen masters often express this very directly. Sengcan wrote, "The great way is not difficult for those who have no preferences." And elsewhere, "Do not seek the truth, only cease to cherish opinions." From this perspective, activism can become problematic. It can become entangled with ego. It can reinforce dualistic thinking, us versus them, good versus evil. It can even distract us from direct realization. There's also a deeper point here. If all phenomena are empty, if all things are dependent, fluid, and lacking fixed essence, then the world we're trying so desperately to fix may not be as solid as we imagine. Our reactions often assume permanence, where Buddhism sees impermanence. From this perspective, the argument is simple. Transform the mind, and the world is already transformed. But that's not the whole story. The Mahayana tradition shifts the emphasis dramatically through the Bodhisattva ideal. The Bodhisattva vows, beings are numberless, I vow to free them. That's not passive, it's profoundly active. And if we look honestly at the Buddha's own life, we see the same thing. After awakening, he didn't disappear into silence. He taught for decades, he mediated disputes, he advised rulers, he entered communities shaped by suffering and responded directly to what he found. In the Itavuttaka, the Buddha says, if beings knew, as I know, the result of giving and sharing, they would not eat without having given. That's not merely a personal teaching, it's a teaching about relationship, generosity, and mutual care. And in the Dhammapada, we find these famous words. As a mother would protect her only child with her life, even so should one cultivate a boundless love toward all beings. That kind of love doesn't remain abstract. Love moves. Love responds. Love acts. Zen itself isn't purely quietist either. Dōgen wrote, to study the Buddha way is to study the self. To study the self is to forget the self. To forget the self is to be actualized by the 10,000 things. I've always loved that phrase. Actualized by the 10,000 things. It means we don't stand apart from the world. We are the world. The suffering we encounter isn't separate from us. So responding to suffering isn't necessarily a distraction from realization. Sometimes it's the very expression of realization. So where does that leave us? The Buddha consistently points toward the middle way, not as a compromise, not as splitting the difference, but as freedom from extremes. Applied to this question, the middle way means neither passive indifference nor reactive activism. It points toward something more subtle, responsive and grounded engagement. The difference isn't necessarily in what we do. The difference is in the mind behind the doing. Passive witnessing can sometimes become avoidance disguised as spirituality. It can become indifference. It can become attachment to personal peace. Activism can become driven by anger. It can become tribal identity. It can become burnout, frustration, and despair. But honest witnessing is different. It sees clearly without turning away. It feels compassion without becoming overwhelmed. It acts when action is needed. It refrains when action isn't needed, and it doesn't cling to outcomes. This reflects a profound teaching found in the Bahia Sutta. In the seen, there is only the seen. In the cognized, only the cognized. In other words, we meet reality directly, not through the stories of self, not through our preferences, not through our fears, just reality as it is. And then we respond. Which brings us to the deeper question. Does engagement help or hinder enlightenment? Does stepping into the world delay awakening, or is it part of awakening itself? The answer depends entirely on how we engage. If action is driven by craving, aversion, or delusion, then action reinforces samsara. But if action arises from non-attachment, compassion, and clear seeing, then action becomes practice itself. Zen Master Hakuin put it beautifully. Meditation in action is 100, 1,000, 10,000 times superior to meditation in stillness. And yet without stillness, action loses its grounding. So it isn't an either-or proposition, it's a rhythm. Sit deeply, see clearly, act compassionately, let go completely, and then begin again. To bear witness in a Buddhist sense isn't merely to observe. It's to see suffering without denial, to feel it without collapsing beneath it, to understand it without distortion, and to respond without self-centeredness. This is difficult work. It asks everything of us, but it also frees us from the false choice between detachment and involvement. We don't have to choose one side or the other. We can be still and responsive, empty and compassionate, engaged and unattached. And perhaps the real question isn't whether we should act or not act. Perhaps the real question is this: what is acting through me right now? If anger is acting through me, I'll spread anger. If fear is acting through me, I'll spread fear. But if clarity and compassion are acting through me, then even the smallest gesture, a kind word, an open hand, a refusal to look away, may shift the world in ways I'll never fully see. The Buddha never asked us to save the world. He asked us to wake up. And from that awakening, the world is met honestly, directly, and with care. Thank you for listening, and may your practice benefit all beings.